All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. I'm getting into it with Stormy Daniels again on social media. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But as I mentioned, this is a story that is not just a local story, but it's turned into a national story, right? We're talking about drag queen story time. This is where men dressed in drag go into these libraries, particularly here in Henderson, and read books in front of children. And we had a nice debate on the show last week, and we had one of those people in support of it, one of those that are against it. The man that is against it right now we have on the line with us. His name is Arthur Shaper. He works with a group called Mass Resistance, and he joins us. Arthur, I appreciate you taking some time to join us. How are you?
Thanks again for having me back. I appreciate it.
Sure. You know, last time I wanted you two guys to go at it, and I tried to stay out of it as much as possible. But I said, let's get this guy back on and let's have a discussion about it. Okay, so first of all, it is my understanding that there's going to be another drag queen story time coming to Clark County. Is that true? What can you tell us about that?
Oh, my gosh, yes. And this is, part of the reason I'm on the show is to really start sounding out the alarms. There was full-on perversion that took place at the Multnomah County library system. This is in Portland, Oregon. They had a demon drag clown named Carla Rossi. This was international news. This pervert allowed children to crawl all over him. He's a drag queen who was reading to the kids in the Portland, Oregon library system. That same pervert is coming to Clark County now. This guy, I mean, as soon as people found out about those, when they saw those photos on the Multnomah County Flickr site, they began taking the photos down to try to cover their tracks.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question with what you just said.
Yeah.
Now, you've called him a pervert. I want to ask you this. Has he ever been convicted of a crime involving children?
Well, that's something we got to start looking into, but it's really creepy and totally inappropriate.
Okay, well, hold on a second.
To be calling on that.
Okay, but
and not only that, but let me finish this. Can you imagine any teacher or any minister or any other professional allowing children to do that to them in a setting like that? That would be completely excoriated. It would be completely condemned.
Okay, so let me ask you that.
Not only that.
Let me test your theory. Let me test your theory. I want to get to what you said. If that was Santa Claus and there were kids crawling over Santa Claus, would you call Santa Claus a pervert?
I would say no. I wouldn't. Because
What's the difference?
Not a drag queen. This guy's not a sexual.
How do you know?
This like last week. Let me finish. Because drag entertainment is illicitly sexually explicit and inappropriate. Santa Claus is not a character pretending to be. Santa Claus is not a sexually illicit entertainer. Now, I would say this much. I still think it's inappropriate. If it was Santa Claus, let me rephrase that. I don't want to see anybody who's working with kids allowing children to be doing that to them. That's just not appropriate. That's the 5 and 10 on it. But I say pervert, and I don't hold it back because we're talking about drag queens reading to children. We're not just done there. You can look at Mr. Anthony Hudson. That's his real name. If you look at his social media profiles, you will see all kinds of horrific images. This guy has art from, this was done by Keith Haring. You have explicit presentations of male genitals all over a wall that Mr. Hudson put on his social media profiles. This is horrific, disgusting stuff. This guy also has satanic images all over his social media as well.
Okay, well, I didn't hear you say that. I was unaware. I was unaware of that, and let me be very.
This is my point. You're so patient with me. I appreciate this, but this is why I'm sounding the alarm on this.
Well, let me be clear,
a lot of parents
Arthur.
Just don't know. These drag queens are pushing an illicit, perverse agenda as it is.
Let me be clear, Arthur. Let me just jump in. Let me be very clear here. What you just said, if that is true, then I am on your side. If you have a guy that is dressing in drag, and and by the way, I don't care if he's a guy not dressing in drag. I don't care if he's straight, gay. I don't care what he looks like. If on his social media page he has nudity pictures and he is going into a school reading to kids and kids are sitting on his lap or anything, I find that to be troubling and inappropriate, and I am on your side.
Should.
Okay, and I'm on your side when it comes to that. With that being said, in this specific example, I am going to take your side if that's true. However, you have to agree that just because you are a drag queen and just because you wear female clothing as a man doesn't necessarily mean you are a pervert. In fact, I know that there are some straight men that dress in drag. You would give me that, wouldn't you?
No, I actually wouldn't. Here's the thing. This, again, it is inherently illicit. People do this for the sexual charge of it. I studied abnormal behavior in college. And when you have men cross-dressing as women engaging in these behaviors, going into this. Now, if you want to, and I talked about this last week, if you want to talk about Mrs. Doubtfire, you know, where you have a guy pretending to be a woman because he's going undercover to investigate something, or because that's a fictional account. But if you have a man pretending to be a woman because he's playing a role in a play, that's a different matter entirely. Drag queens, again, drag entertainment is inherently sexual. It's sexually explicit. It's illicit. The whole context of it is based on that. And hey, I'm not the only one. I'm not the one who initiated this. You have these men dressing up as garish parodies of women, insisting on reading to children, and they call themselves drag queens. They're the ones who are putting it out there. Just as I said last week, if there's nothing sexual about this, why do they call themselves drag queens? Why don't they call themselves, you know, fairies or fairy godmother, or do what the animated character did in Despicable Me, where, you know, the evil villain pretends to be a fairy to entertain the children at his kid's birthday party? It's drag entertainment. They say that. The whole concept of drag is sexual and sexually explicit.
Arthur,
it's right there.
Are there any other situations or any other examples or scenarios like the Anthony Hudson, Carlo Ross that you can tell us about?
Oh, absolutely. We've got a gentleman named Todd Music. He's a drag queen who was reading to children in Maryland, St. Mary's County. We've got a massive dossier on this guy. He was following pornographic sites on Twitter. The pictures had naked men on them. I kid you not.
If they were naked women, would you feel the same way?
Oh, damn right I would.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Perverse.
Okay.
It's disgusting. This guy, Todd Music is his name. Stormy Vane, pardon me if there's noise in the background. Stormy Vane is the stage name. He was reading in the St. Mary's County, Maryland library system. We had our Maryland mass resistance team confront this. We put a massive dossier together of all the information on this guy. He was not only had these explicit sites that he was following on Twitter, but he was promoting a sexual business, domestic workers who were pictured naked. It was basically like prostitution. It was so horrific that our Texas Mass Resistance chair, Tracy Shannon, she was doing the research on this. She then forwarded this stuff to law enforcement, federal and state. It was so horrific. It was like borderline criminal. This is what's happening. We saw the same thing with the drag queen in Austin, Texas. He was following porn and explicit sites.
I get it, Arthur. Arthur, yeah. I totally understand. And listen, again, I'll say it again. I'll be very clear on this. If these drag queens are doing inappropriate things on social media,
is following a pornographic site inappropriate though?
Well, here's the thing:
is masturbation in your own home inappropriate?
No,
Arthur?
It's not. Well, let Arthur answer that. Go ahead, Arthur.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about people engaging in and promoting this stuff in public on social media for people to see. This is stuff that's
you said following. You didn't say retweeting. You didn't say posting. Following is something totally different.
Then why are they following it in the first place? And why is that stuff on the social media sites in the first place? These sites are even violating Twitter's own rules and guidelines. Why are they even permitted for the accounts to still be open? We have people's accounts being suspended for saying transgenderism is a mental disorder.
Here's where we disagree, though. Let's talk about.
I will agree with that. I think that's very odd.
Let's talk about, Arthur, what you and I.
It's awful. And let me correct this. I appreciate your patience with me on this.
Yes.
It isn't if it's true. It is true. I can send you the dossiers after this.
Okay, I believe you. No, that's fine. I don't think you're making this up. I believe you. I just want to focus now. I think we agree on some stuff. Here's where I think we disagree. I believe that if you are a cross-dresser, if you're, whatever clothes that you wear, if you are gay, straight, 8 feet tall, 2 feet tall, I don't care what you are. What I care about is your character and the way you live your life. Are you breaking the law? I don't care as long as somebody doesn't have a criminal record. I don't care if they're reading in front of kids. I don't care what they look like. I actually think it's dangerous on the other side of this, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this one, Arthur, but I actually think it's dangerous when you teach kids at a young age that homosexuality is wrong and men that dress up as women is wrong.
So Arthur, for example, we've
Am I
had...
going to be allowed to respond to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. Homosexuality is inherently destructive. I'm glad we're having this discussion. I commend you for allowing this. You know, this discussion would be borderline criminal in Canada because the hate speech laws are so outrageous. Thank God for the First Amendment. We've got to talk about this stuff. I know homosexuals themselves. They recognize, they've told me this, these behaviors are inherently destructive. No, we should not be promoting these behaviors to children.
I've talked to homosexuals. I've never had a homosexual tell me their behavior is destructive.
Well, that's you, maybe because a lot of them are afraid to. The ones who speak to our office in Waltham have acknowledged that these behaviors hurt, there is bloodshed. I took a health course when I was getting my teaching credential at Cal State Long Beach, and I asked this question plainly to the teacher. I said, when homosexuals engage with each other physically, is there bloodshed? Is there hurt? The guy said it very candidly. Yes, he wasn't gay. I'm not gay. I don't sleep with men. He didn't sleep with men. It's just a biological fact. Our bodies were not designed for that kind of conduct. And it's important that we bring this up. These behaviors are destructive. They're not innate. They are learned or they are acquired because of abuse or environmental factors that can be overcome.
That's where we disagree.
Why would we want to teach behaviors or promote behaviors to children that are destructive? Do not take my word for it. You can go to the Health Hazards of Homosexuality.
I don't see it that way.
Book, which we published. Just to wrap up. Mass Resistance compiled massive amounts of data from the Center of Disease Control and the National Institute for Health and other scholarly sites to point out a long systemic pattern of destructive outcomes that are associated with homosexual and transgender conduct. Don't agree with me. Look up the data yourself.
Well, listen, we just disagree on that. To me, it's not about data. I've spoken to many people that are homosexuals, and we've obviously
data. You just said that. You're not willing to look at it.
No, I mean, here's why. Because I know where my opinions stand, and I don't need to look at data to back it up. Here's the deal: we disagree on this.
Yes, you do. See,
no,
that's wrong.
No, I disagree.
Let's not be afraid to have.
You're a religious. No, I'm not afraid to have.
This is about religion. This is about science.
Right.
I haven't mentioned.
What do you mean this is about science? You have said in this with all due respect, you have said in this conversation that you believe being gay is a choice, and I speak to many.
No, I did not say that. That's not true. Wrong. I never said that.
Okay. Well, they learn. They learn.
Never made that statement.
Okay. Well,
it's not a choice.
They learn. They learn how to be gay.
I want to clarify this because that's the second time you've done that. I do not say that people wake up one day and decide to be gay. What I am telling you, though, is because of abuse, trauma, hurt, the need that every person has for a loving parent, a loving father. People misunderstand or diminish that. That kind of training and development is so important for every child. And it is staggering to me with every homosexual. You will find a missing parent, child abuse, physical, sexual abuse.
Every homosexual?
The more that I've spoken to them, yes.
You're telling me every homosexual has a broken family?
Either a broken family or a broken relationship with a parent, or they were molested or
What about all straight people that have had broken relationships with parents? What about all straight people that have been abused? What about all straight people that have horrible families?
Okay.
What's your point? You're not making.
Is there are different iterations how people cope with such trauma, but I will tell you that for people who engage in same-sex conduct like this, it's a response to abuse, hurt, and neglect. These are disordered behaviors that we shouldn't promote.
There are many happy gay couples I have. There are many happy gay couples out there.
And
who are you to say that they're not happy? You don't know what's going on in their homes.
Themselves. Absolutely.
You're telling me Pete Buttigieg is really unhappy? You know everything about Pete Buttigieg and his life because he's gay? That's absurd.
You have clear scientific elements or facts that are demonstrated. These behaviors cause damage. Don't tell me that that's going to produce happiness. You're making a gross assumption that everybody research on this. You're
giving me an assumption that every single gay couple in this country is unhappy because they're gay. That is completely ridiculous. By the way, the word gay means happy.
How do you know that I'm wrong?
Because I personally know gay couples that are very happy with one another. That's why.
And I can tell you that a lot of them cover it up, and there's a militancy about.
So let me just reiterate this, Arthur.
To promote it. And I'd like to remind your audience that you have misquoted me already. You said I was pushing a religious agenda. I never mentioned religion.
Where did I say I was pushing a religious agenda?
I never said that.
I did not say you were pushing a religious agenda.
You did. I did not.
I did
want
not
your
say
audience
that.
To be aware of this, sir.
Okay.
I'm really glad that we're having this discussion.
I'm glad too. I did not say that you were pushing a religious agenda. We can play back all the audio.
That was motivating me, and that's not true.
I did not say that.
Also said,
I
You
did not
also
say that.
said that I said being gay is a choice. I did not say that.
Okay,
I did not say that either.
then if you did not say that, then I apologize. I'm not trying
Thank you
to.
for fixing that.
I'm
I
not
appreciate
trying.
it.
I'm not trying to say things on the air and misquote you. I'm giving opinions. Sometimes we say things and we mishear things, and then that happens.
And the last thing is, you said your opinion. You don't care about facts. That's a real
Didn't
problem.
say I
We've
don't
gotta
care
fix
about
that.
facts. You just misquoted
You
me.
did,
I never
because
said
told you
that.
about the center.
He said he
Yes,
didn't
because-
care about data because he has his own opinions.
Okay.
Exactly. You said that.
That doesn't mean
Stop with
facts.
Look at our book, Health
Listen,
Hazards of Homosexuality.
Arthur,
Check
with
it
all
out.
due respect, you
All right,
just said, hold on a second. You just said that you believe every single gay couple in this country is unhappy because they are gay. That, and again, I say this with all due respect, that is an idiotic comment. You don't know.
Why is it idiotic? Why?
Because you're not
Why?
in every home. You don't know every
I
one
don't
of these
have to be.
relationships. You
The
have no
behavior is
idea.
disordered and it's destructive.
That's your
because
opinion, but
people
you
are doing
can't.
That it's a manifestation of hurt.
So
Yes.
every
That
single
doesn't make it
married
idiotic.
couple in this country is unhappy. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say every married couple. I said every gay. Every gay
What's the
man is
difference?
engaged in these behaviors.
What's the difference?
gay
If you're a
woman.
married couple, it's a gay relationship. What's the difference?
Oh, my goodness. Where do I start? Marriage is a sacrament. It's an institution. This is by biology and history. Marriage is for one man and one woman. It doesn't matter what 5 bad lawyers in black dresses may have said in 2015. By the way, there are more courts and more juries and more legal cultures which are rejecting this idea that you can just upend marriage and make it being anything that anybody wants to. The historical record, the biological record, the moral record bears out. Marriage, the institution of family, it's for one man and one woman. It's biology, dude. 2 men can't have a kid. 2 women cannot have a kid. And yes, I understand. There are marriages where the couples don't have children, but that's the exception, not the rule. There it is. The idea that 2 men can be married is this nonsensical, elitist nicety. It's not actually as progressive as people think. I mean, Emperor Nero of Rome, you know, the evil, vicious guy who was routinely persecuting his opponents, not just Christians, this guy married a man. There is a record for this.
If you're just joining us,
Other Romans and Greeks.
if you're
This
just,
is- it's
I just want to give out your name there. If you're just joining us, Arthur Shaper, he's from Mass Resistance. I apologize, Shopper. See, I make mistakes all the time. Arthur Shopper from Mass Resistance.
So
We're talking a little bit about the drag queen storytelling, which is going on in Henderson.
So, Arthur, roughly 5.1% of the United States is LGBTQT. Did you know that?
Actually, I don't know that, and I would have to challenge that because now we've got this whole T that's turning into a whole the alphabet people, as David Chappelle would say.
Well, it doesn't make a difference. The point is that you would identify those people as deviants, right? You would, as unhappy deviants.
The behavior is deviant.
Okay,
The
so what should happen? What should happen to same-sex couples? What should happen to deviants in the United States of America? What do you think should happen to them?
Okay, let me make this very clear. You know, and if you want to bring a religious aspect, you can. Or I articulate this way. I have homosexuals who are friends of mine who recognize that the behaviors are destructive. It's not their identity. Bill O'Reilly talked about this. He respected Rosie O'Donnell's political views, that she has views and she's allowed to share them. But the moment that she made it all about being a lesbian, she put her bedroom on the front door, on the doorstep of her home, and pretty much ruined her capacity to demonstrate and speak on issues because everybody would look at her based on her sexuality alone. Sexual behaviors and feelings are not a final identity. So let's stop with that nonsense right there. The second thing is, I don't want people thrown off of buildings or even put in jail cells for feelings, or even engaging in these behaviors with other adults necessarily. But we have to speak that it should be treated like smoking. It really should. People are allowed to smoke. We don't lock them up for that. But we need to tell
So you
people
think
the
being
truth
gay
and stop
causes
promoting
cancer?
it.
Is that what you think being gay causes cancer? Is that what you're trying to say?
It does in many cases, it sure does. Anal cancers. There's other issues in the intestinal areas.
So straight people can't have sex
Go
like
back
that?
to our book, The Health Hazards of Homosexuality.
So
We
straight
talk
people,
about this
so
at
a
length.
man and a woman can't have sex like that without being too graphic because we're on the radio. Men and women
know.
can have sex like that. Do you have a problem with that?
It's destructive for the two of them. It's definitely not wise.
It's not wise. Would you say the same thing about 2 men? Would you say it's not wise?
Of course I'm saying that. I mean, that's what I've been saying before. And going deeper into this idea that it's a natural and a holy or a healthy thing, a wholesome thing to promote is wrong. There's a reason why many cultures, and putting aside religious reasons, why they discourage this conduct. This is why to this day, even in Singapore, which is quite a technocratic advancing culture, they still criminalize homosexuality it's the statute 377A. They don't rigorously enforce it, but they want to communicate the message. This is not conduct to be promoted. It should be discouraged. And I think that's wise. However, as far as our situation is concerned in the United States, the Obergefell decision should be overturned. It's based on the crappiest legal reasoning. It's actually pretty tyrannical, especially if you look at Clarence Thomas's dissent. The majority opinion basically redefined liberty as something that the government gives you. Absolutely not. Liberty is defined by restraints on the state so that we are able to allow a moral and a civil culture to flourish. That's in the minority of dissenting opinion that Clarence Thomas wrote. People in the world should understand this.
Listen, I get it, Arthur. I try to speak from a very logical perspective, Arthur, and I understand you are.
But you said that you don't care about data.
No, here's what I care about. Here's what I care about. I care about people. Here's what I do.
He means he doesn't.
Let me know when I can talk.
He doesn't need data to back up his own decision.
I'll answer. Don't worry.
Well, wait a minute. We're talking about an institution that is the fundamental bedrock of society. Data does matter. We shouldn't dismiss
Here's what matters to me. I was interrupted. Here's what matters to me. What matters to me is that people live their lives the way they want to live their lives, so long as they are not breaking the law, and let them do what they want to do. I'm not going to look at somebody because their sexuality is different and call them deviant. I'm not going to look at somebody and because their sexuality is different than mine and they live a lifestyle that's different than mine, make a gross assumption. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm not going to make a gross assumption that just because there is a gay couple out there that they must be more unhappy than a straight couple. I think that is an absolutely absurd and ridiculous assumption. You have the right to think the way you think, and I would never take that right away from you.
Give me data to prove me wrong.
Give me data that shows me that every single gay couple in this country has to be 100% unhappy. I will gladly read that data.
Go to our book, The Health Hazards of Homosexuality.
I don't want to go to your book because you wrote the book. I don't want to read a book that was. Let me finish. Let me finish.
So that's your answer.
I don't want to read a book that was written by somebody who is anti-gay and clearly biased. I want to read a book that's somebody that doesn't have anything in the game.
These are resources from the Center for Disease Control.
You are you are anti-gay. If you wrote a book that is anti-gay, obviously it is going to be biased. And I'm telling you right now from personal experience.
So you won't read material.
I'm telling you
I'm a biased individual, and you have me on the radio.
I am telling you because
talk to me, but you can't read a book just because it has a point.
Because I'm not going to read one of your books. It's not going to change my mind. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm telling you from.
If it changes your mind, you ought to be informed about it.
I'm telling you from personal experience that you should be informed by my personal experiences. The fact that I know many gay couples out there that have much better relationships than many straight couples because I hang out with these people and they're happy. They both have jobs. They have families. They've been married for a very
standards that you're using.
Okay, listen. We got to take a break. Stick around for another segment. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. Okay, Arthur? You gonna stick around? Would you like to stick around or not? I'm giving you the invitation.
I would love to stick around.
All right, Arthur, stick around. We're joined by Arthur Schaper from Mass Resistance. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. We're going to take your phone calls here in just a few minutes at 257-5396. What we are talking about is drag queen story time. Men dressed in drag that are reading stories to kids. And the guy we have with us on the line, Arthur, is from Mass Resistance, obviously against what is taking place in these libraries and against gay marriage and, quite frankly, against homosexuality. All right, so let me ask you a personal question, and if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. Are you married? Are you married?
No, I'm single.
Okay. What has been wrong in your relationships over the years that you are single and you are not married? No, it's a serious question. You're straight. You're straight.
I am happily single. I have no desire to marry. I'm very comfortable with that.
Okay, so what I told you a few minutes ago was that I'll tell you why I'm asking you that. I told you a few minutes ago that I know many gay couples that are very happy. And they just gave me the same answer that you gave me. And your response to me was, well, how do you know? Maybe they're not telling you the truth. Well, how do I know? Arthur, hold on. How do I know you're not telling me the truth? How do I know that you're happy?
let me explain the basis for this. As I had said before, what I got from my health teacher, and again, data, you can look at the health hazards of homosexuality. If not the book, you can Google the words yourself. The behaviors are inherently destructive. What motivates or undergirds these behaviors is trauma, emotional abuse,
We've
loss,
been
and
over
neglect.
this.
Don't tell me that's happy. It's not.
We've been over this before. I know gay couples that have been together for 20, 30 years that have families.
They can say whatever they want
and
to.
you can say whatever and you can say whatever you want to, but clearly you haven't had healthy relationships.
I'm not
You're
engaging
single.
in sexual behaviors that will shorten my lifespan. That's the difference.
I don't know that. You could have had unprotected sex with a woman. You can laugh. You can laugh.
So you agree with me then that homosexual conduct is destructive. You accept that?
Absolutely not. I couldn't disagree with you more.
Why not? Because you won't look at the data.
Because there's something called safe sex. Hold on a second.
I challenge you. Go to
I
our
challenge
book.
you.
Google those terms yourself.
No, I challenge you. Listen, there's something because there's something in this world called a condom, and just because you're gay doesn't mean you're having unprotected
sex. You think condoms is a great way for people to have sex, even though they're going to break
why don't you stick to? Why don't you stick to what I?
They don't stop disease.
Why don't you? Why don't? Okay, why don't you stick to the subject because you just did a circle around.
You changed it, dude. You're the one asking me if I was
I asked you about your personal life. You're laughing, but just focus for a second, Arthur. You just told me you're happy.
You're changing the subject. We were talking about drag queens. By the way, those perverted drag queens want to teach kids to get involved in illicit sex. They want to teach them that they can sleep with whoever they want to, that they can be whatever gender they want to.
I know. You think all the drag queens. I know. You think all the drag queens are telling kids to be gay. I get it. It's a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous opinion. It's ridiculous.
Listen, Arthur, going teen drag in Clark County. Hello,
Arthur.
That's why I want to be on the show to warn the public here.
I get it, Arthur, and I'm glad to give you that opportunity to do that. But there's a reason why I went personal and I asked you, why are you single?
Sure. Arthur, because you're a little more unhinged this time.
No, it's okay. I don't mind it, Arthur.
You were much more composed.
I'm not scaring your
last
audience,
conversation we had.
I'm relieved and I'm kind of laughing because this is what you're resorting to. You're having to do the same thing.
No. Make no, Arthur.
You have to talk about Donald Trump or something else.
Arthur,
you won't acknowledge it. These are destructive behaviors.
Arthur, I get it. You think being gay. I get it. You think being gay is destructive, but there's a reason why.
Stop with the being
and you
gay.
are entitled.
Not an identity.
You are entitled to your own opinion, Arthur. Arthur, do you follow any porn stars on Twitter?
No, I sure don't. I have no interest in doing so.
Okay,
boring.
We've had porn stars on our show a couple of times. And
I feel sorry for them. I'm sorry that they're selling their bodies like that.
And these porn stars have 500,000 to 2 million followers on Twitter. Is every single person that follows these porn stars, male or female, on Twitter a sexual deviant?
Yeah, it is deviant behavior. They shouldn't be. I would.
Watching porn is deviant.
Happening. Why is it even on Twitter? We had this discussion before. These Twitter sites, what we saw, what these drag queens were following and promoting on their websites. Mm-hmm. You asked that question earlier. Did those drag queens retweet or share the videos and pictures? Yes, they did. That was part of the
Arthur,
profile.
Do you have a problem with pornography?
Yes, it's destructive.
Have you ever been to a strip club in your life?
No.
Have you ever looked at a naked woman in a magazine?
Personal. Okay.
No, I think it's fair. Have you ever looked at a naked woman in a magazine? Ever in your life?
No.
You've never looked at a picture of a naked woman. Is that what you're about to tell me?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, maybe that's why you're single.
Arthur, very simple question here.
This is really interesting. Now you want to try to shame me. I think
we're not shaming. We don't think that you are very experienced. Arthur,
you're the one saying that we needed to focus. Now you want to talk about my habits.
You have shamed. You have shamed in your book. Let me answer his question. He just attacked me. Let me answer his question. You have just shamed all homosexuals by saying every single homosexual who is in a relationship is unhappy. So don't you? Okay, well, guess what? I'm just saying the truth. No, I'm just saying the truth. Let the truth. Let the truth set you free. Let the truth set you free. Let the truth. Let the truth.
Filibuster me like that Chris David.
I'm not filibustering you. You just said let the truth. You just said let the truth set you free. Now I'm going to say let the truth set you free. There's probably a reason why you're single.
You don't believe in data.
I believe in data. You don't. You're not with a girl. That's my data.
Arthur, are you a virgin?
So is that really any?
Answer the question. Are you a virgin? Answer the question.
Are you a 40-year-old virgin?
Are you?
I can't believe I'm hearing this.
Answer the question. Are you a virgin? Answer the question. Why won't you answer the question?
You know why? Because it's too personal. It's none of your business.
Oh,
Thank
but you want to get into the business.
You might want to try it sometime.
So you want to get into the business.
Drag queens being around kids, right?
You want to get into the business of everybody else in homosexuality. But when someone hold on a second. But when someone
I told you about
when
Bill
someone
O'Reilly.
asked you
Bill
a
O'Reilly
personal,
criticized
I'm not
Rosie
talking about Bill
O'Donnell
O'Reilly. I'm
when she
talking
made her
about you.
sexuality public, that she wanted to put her bedroom on the front
I'm not
doorstep.
talking about Bill
Homosexuals are
O'Reilly.
pushing in our faces with the gay pride parade.
I'm not talking
Hello?
about Bill O'Reilly, but it's very convenient
I'm not
that
getting in their life. They're pushing it in our faces.
It's very
They're not pushing it in our
convenient.
schools, for crying out loud.
It's very-
I'm here in the state of California with mothers and fathers of diverse background protesting the perverse, explicit, false sex ed curriculum, which teaches
Arthur,
that
I think you should.
LGBT behaviors are inherently acceptable. They're
Arthur, there's
destructive.
nothing wrong
I'm
with
not getting
picking
in
up
people's business. It's just a fact.
All right, Arthur, there's
Hello?
nothing wrong. Hello, there's nothing wrong with picking up a Playboy. There's nothing wrong with going to a strip club with some friends. There's nothing wrong with
that.
pornography.
It diminishes a person's aspect, their self-respect.
Nobody's forcing them to do it. Nobody's forcing them to do it. Many of these women make a lot of money, and men, by the way.
Does it mean I want to lock everybody up for it? No, but we need to have a discussion about.
You do realize that our crowd is our audience. We're located in Las Vegas, Nevada. What is Las Vegas, Nevada called
We're
for?
having this discussion in the middle of so-called Sin City, where, by the way, we have mothers and fathers who've reached out to us and are outraged. Back to the drag queen issue, right? They're disgusted that drag queens are going into the libraries reading to their children. By the way, there's a lot of churches where you have, churches, okay, we're bringing up the spiritual and the moral aspect of it, fine. Men and women of faith who have also recognized that these behaviors are destructive, not just for religious sentiment, but for biological, moral, emotional, and psychological reasons. Pornography, people get addicted to it. It's destructive in that regard. Now, this issue of live and let live, I think that's a theme you've wanted to stress, right? That we don't want to live. I don't want a telescreen inside of everybody's bedroom. I don't want 1984.
Neither do I.
I understand what you're saying. But here's the thing. When it comes to homosexuality, transgenderism, et cetera, you're saying I'm getting into other people's business. On the contrary, they're making their private lives our business.
Not true.
We were told in the 1960s that
not
they
true.
just wanted to be
You
able
just
to
said
have
something that's
sex
not
with the same
factual.
sex
Wait a
and
second,
not
Arthur.
worry
I'm not gonna let you get away with that. You think every single Hold on. Let me explain. You're claiming that every single homosexual that's in a relationship is putting their business out to you. That is completely not true. In fact, many homosexuals in our society, excuse me, not every homosexual does that in public, number one. And number two, in the history of homosexuals, many of them are afraid to come out or scared to come out because of people like you.
Oh, so now you're really getting personal here.
No, I'm being honest. I'm just like you said. I'm just telling the truth. Just like you said, I'm just telling the truth. I'm just telling the truth, Arthur.
About Emperor Nero, who married his boyfriend. I've told you, homosexuality was an open behavior in the Greek city-state, ancient Greece.
All right.
Okay, you don't like the National Institute for Health. Read the histories by Polybius, a Greco-Roman.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Arthur. I will read that.
Greco-Roman historian.
I will read some of that stuff. I will read some of that stuff. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will read. Well, because you're going on another right-wing Christian filibuster.
I'm trying to answer your question. Oh, wow. So now I'm a right-wing Christian, whatever, because I want to protect children.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you, Arthur. I'll make a deal with you. I'll make a deal with you, Arthur. If you pick up a porn magazine today for the first time in your life, maybe I'll read some of your stuff. What do you think about that?
Why do I have to diminish my self-respect so that
because there's nothing wrong. Because there's nothing wrong with looking at a naked body. That's right. Are you asexual?
I have to watch pornography, so you'll read a book to understand that homosexuality is destructive.
You've never been to a strip club. You've never been.
Did you just do that?
You've never been. You've never been to a strip club.
You've never looked at a picture of a naked woman.
You've never looked at a picture of somebody naked,
buddy.
You've never looked at a picture of somebody naked.
This. Okay, go ahead. Say your thing.
You've never looked at a picture of somebody naked before. You've never been to a strip club. You've never seen. Hold on, let me finish.
I mean, Michelangelo.
Let me finish. You've never seen pornography, and you just so happen to be single. Shocker.
Okay. What's your point?
My point is you're talking
people to be married and happy.
My point
that they
is
should engage.
I'll give you my point. My point is you think you're the authority on every gay couple, and you think every gay couple.
But you've zero experiences to back up your statements.
Don't tell me that's conducive to happiness.
You seem to think that every homosexual relationship they're unhappy. Yet you've never even watched porn. You're single. You strike me as someone that hasn't had experience in relationships.
Arthur,
this is interesting. You're making a connection between pornography and homosexuality. It's good that you you've done that, because that's an issue too.
I
There's one
absolutely have
account
not
I
done
listed
that.
a
Arthur,
gentleman
do
in
you
Singapore,
live with one of your
incidentally
family
enough. He
members?
stumbled onto gay pornography. He got
That's a good
addicted
question.
to it,
That's a good
and he
question.
started having lustful feelings for other
All
men.
right, JD has a question for you. Go ahead, JD.
Arthur, do you live with one of your family members? Your mom,
No,
your
I live-
father?
No.
What's the longest relationship you've ever had?
Why do you care?
Because I would say this thing about you. Why do you care about all these homosexuals having relationships? Why do you care?
Yeah,
Answer the
Because I'm talking
question.
about the
There's a lot
behavior.
of projecting
I'm
going
talking
on
about
here, Arthur.
I'm talking about your behavior.
Okay.
What is the longest relationship you've ever had, and how old are you?
What is it? What difference does it make?
Answer the
Really?
question. What's the longest relationship you've ever had, and how old are you? Have you ever
Okay.
been married? What's the longest relationship?
I'm not
Since
married.
you
I've
seem to
never
be
been
an
married.
expert on relationships and you're
Right.
single,
And you don't want to be married.
So I understand. So you think
Well, no,
that
he's not the
I'm
expert.
an
His-
expert
the
because
book-
I
the
read
book that
books
he
and I have
wrote
knowledge about it.
is
That
an
makes me an
expert.
expert.
you seem
You're
to be
right.
you seem to be in
don't have
everybody's
to- I don't
home,
have to
right?
put my hand in a
The health
blender to know
hazards
it's a
of
bad idea to stick my
homosexuality.
hand in a blender.
Yeah, so
Hello.
having a homosexual relationship you're comparing to putting your hand in a blender. That's a very intelligent
But-
analogy.
but
You're the
you
one
haven't
who-
had your
I
own
believe you're the one who
relationships.
was making some really interesting comparisons. You compared reading a book on the destruction of the dangerous
No,
aspects of
your book.
homosexuality with
Your
pornography.
book.
You did that too. So hey,
Your book. I'm talking about your book.
it's not my book. I didn't write it.
And I want you to answer the question with all due respect. What is the longest relationships you've ever had?
That's none of your business.
Okay, well, guess what?
Thank you.
We're going to end this conversation by me saying this to you. What homosexuals do
So you have
with
the
their
last
own
word,
personal
huh?
relationships is none of your
Okay, so
business.
you're okay with
have, a good,
homosexuals
have a
and-
good day.
And it's
Women
also
being indoctrinated.
perfectly legal.
Arthur, I appreciate you coming on, but you say it's none of our business about your personal relationships, yet you want to make, a gross, you just want to make gross assumptions about all gay relationships. Now, if you want to come on the show again, you're welcome to come on the show again, but you're making gross assumptions on every homosexual relationship out there. And then when it talks about your personal life, you won't give us any information about your personal relationships. We know that you're single. We know that you've never seen a pornography before, so you claim. By the way, I don't believe that.
I'm almost certain that you have never had sex before.
Well, I'm not going to make that assumption because then I'll be like Arthur. He makes assumptions like that. But JD, you might be right. I don't know.